attendance. The second section is student progress. Then we have student conduct, student activities, student welfare, and then a quite substantial section for students with disabilities. All right, so the policies that won't have any changes in the attendance section are the age of our entrance, all right? So that's when our students come to us, what age they should be when they enter school. How we screen students diagnostically, so that kindergarten screening essentially, and how we educate students in foster care. We carry a policy for that to make sure that we are preserving their rights. For student progress, there's student evaluation, promotion, and placement. There's graduation options, early graduation and accelerated programs. There's participation in graduation ceremonies and activities. Diploma or credential options for students with disabilities. Student records, access and challenge. That's heavily governed by FERPA, which is the Federal Education Rights to Privacy Act. And then associated with that, information that we may provide to military recruiters or institutions of higher education. There's a policy on designation of a person in parental relation. Occasionally we'll have a student who parent goes away, let's just say goes abroad for a period of time for business. That parent can actually sign paperwork and assign somebody to make decisions on their behalf while they're not accessible. And that policy applies to several different situations, but that's about the easiest example I could provide. We have a policy on the rights of non-custodial parents, and then we have a policy on honor students. And the reason it says old is because our current 7221 is honor students, and our new draft policy manual has assigned 7221 to participation in graduation ceremonies and activities. So that policy may receive a new number, or you might see some changes in those numbers as we move forward. In terms of student conduct, and remember these are policies that are staying identical, so it's not an exhaustive list. So this is omitting those 26 policies that we'll discuss next time. In student conduct, loss or destruction of district property or resources, students presumed to have a disability for disciplinary purposes, student acceptable use policy, and when we talk about acceptable use, we're talking about the acceptable use of the district's computer system or computers and the internet, student use of personal technology, the searches and interrogation of students, rules for the bus, and then also weapons in school and the Gun-Free School Act. Within student activities, we have a policy on extracurricular activities, contests of students, student awards and scholarships. So that governs if we're going to have a competitive essay writing contest, or if there's essays that need to be written in order for an award or scholarship to be awarded. This outlines a policy on that. A policy on fundraising by students, and then a policy for the constitutionally protected prayer in the public schools. In student welfare, we have school health services, immunization of students, student physicals, student health records, accidents and medical emergencies, concussion management, child abuse and maltreatment, suicide, dignity for all students, sexual harassment of students, hazing of students, and general supervision of students. And now we move into two slides that are specific to students with disabilities. We have a policy on our special education, our district plan. We have a policy on grouping by similarity of needs, a policy on the role of the board in implementing a student's IEP, preschool special education program, least restrictive environment, pre-referral intervention strategies, declassification of students with disabilities participating in district programs, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Committee on Special Education, or CSE, and the Committee of Preschool Special Education, or CPSE. And then we have a handful more for students with disabilities. Student Individualized Education Program, or IEP, development and provision, transition services, extended school year services and/or programs, transfer students with disabilities, identification and register of children with disabilities, or child find, parent involvement of children or for children with disabilities, due process complaints, and selection and board appointment of an impartial hearing officer, independent educational evaluations, and special education mediation. So that is a hefty number of policies, but you would expect it to be hefty because students are what we do every day. So there are plenty of laws and regulations and policies in turn that go along with how we work with our students. All right, so it says board members have to review, or board members, it doesn't say board members have to review these policies. It says board members have these policies to review. So it would be my recommendation to review the policies. Ask me any questions. We'll set aside some time next time. And we will set aside some time right now for any questions that you might have. Even if it's just a general curiosity of any individual policy that I listed, just let me know and I can do my best to explain it. And if I can't get to the level of detail that satisfies the question, I can do a little more homework and make sure that I include that in a communicator this week. So, time for questions.
No questions?
Just lots of good vibes to the policy team. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, great work on the policy team, because that's a big commitment every, 5 years? You said?
There's no formal clock on when we actually have to do it. The current manual had a comprehensive update in 2012, so it was due.
Gotcha.
Yep. All right, thank you.
All right. Board discussion topics. So let's see what's going on in the world of board stuff. So lobby day is this week, Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday or Thursday? Something like that. Albany, I think we have about 4 representatives from this area going to Albany, representing our thoughts and our needs and our advocacy efforts from 4 County. Last Thursday was the 4 County membership. Was there, and 3 other area superintendents talked about the what was it? Regionalization. I can't even think of the word. The whole point of the night was to kind of help us understand what regionalization really is. So it's not necessarily combining school districts or school districts competing for students or things like that, but it was really about working together to make sure that we're providing the best services that we can to our students, knowing that we're rural areas with not a ton of extra resources. So it's more about just more of the sharing that we do already with our BOCES to enhance and provide opportunities for our students. Opportunities was the kind of the word of the night. So it's about providing opportunities for our students. So initially when regionalization started being talked about, everyone was worried that we were going to turn into like county schools like they do down south or things like that, but it was emphasized that's not the intent of regionalization up here. So so that was good to hear. There was also a legislative meeting on Saturday, but I know Lynn wasn't able to attend. I don't know exactly what happened at that meeting, other than I know they were working on just finalizing things for lobby day. Anything else anybody has? Updates? The spring conference for 4 County is coming up. Mike and I and Nick went last year. Found it pretty beneficial. They're working on building another good day. So it's Friday, March 21st. If anyone is able to attend, starts with a continental breakfast at 8:30 and ends at 3. So if you are able to attend, let Pam know. And she will get us signed up, and it's a good day to network and just kind of learn about some other, so breakout sessions listed here, like how to talk to students about vaping, facts and practical advice, innovating recruitment and retention, a first of its kind daycare program for employees, some legal updates, mastering the art of questioning, harnessing the power of positive board superintendent relationships, and school bus regulatory update. So that one will probably be a hot item, I imagine, as we're continuing this journey of zero emissions buses. So, so save the date if you can and plan to attend. And that's all I have. Anybody else have anything else? Okay. On to public comment. So the Phelps-Clifton Springs Central School District Board of Education invites public comment at this time to those who have signed up in advance with the district clerk. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes or less. Written remarks may be provided to the board if time expires before a speaker completes their remarks. We ask individuals to state their name prior to comments and to provide the district clerk with their contact information for purposes of follow-up. Although the board will not respond directly to individual comments at this time, items brought to the attention of the board may be taken under consideration for future response, action, or follow-up with the speaker. Issues related to specific district students, whether positive, negative, or neutral, must be brought to the attention of the superintendent of schools privately in order to safeguard student privacy. The board reserves the right to terminate a speaker's comments if their comments are in excess of 2 minutes, are repetitive, or are not appropriate for discussion in an open public forum. All visitors are reminded to abide by the district code of conduct and to be respectful and courteous both as speakers and as audience members. We are a community focused on bettering public education for our students, some of whom may be present. Thank you.
I think this was Justin Harriman from the
Yep.
drama club.
Yep, he was signing up and I said, oh, you don't have to do that. You're already signed up. So, all right, so there is no public comment this evening. All right, so on to new business. Item A, policy manual modifications.
Okay, so I'm going to continue to talk about policies. There were 2 final policies in section 5000 that we had to have a final read and adoption on, and I have them for you tonight. The first one is the policy on gifts, recognition, and naming of facilities. The change here removed, it's not scrolling down. The change, oh, there we go. It just had to catch up. So our former policy included a plaque for memorialization, and plaques for memorialization of students or staff members who have died is not consistent with our crisis manual. So we wanted to make this policy consistent with the crisis manual through the TIG process, the Consortium on Trauma, Illness, and Grief, which is widely accepted as best practice in the school setting. So that was removed, and in addition, the words commemoration form were added. So it was a donation form or commemoration form, because we do have a donation form for gifts to the district, but we also need a commemoration form if someone would like to commence with a commemoration. And then the final thing was that we added other donations or memorials be consistent with the commemoration guidelines in the Mid-Lakes Response to Tragedy and Crisis Manual. So this would constitute our second read. Any questions when it comes to this policy? All right. The second policy is our meal charging and prohibition against meal shaming. If you remember this policy, there was a moment where we thought we were actually going to discontinue this policy because Mid-Lakes currently is able to offer meals, breakfast and lunch, free of charge to students through the community eligibility provision, which does make this policy somewhat moot. However, because our demographic data when it comes to economically disadvantaged families can be a moving target. It is possible that in the future we would no longer qualify for community eligibility provision. And the policy committee felt like retaining this policy would be good just in case. Now, I will say this, don't read into that, because we don't have any reason to believe that we'll have to discontinue that process. Based on our demographic information, it's holding pretty steady. So it's really just a just in case, all right?
And the governor is looking to potentially have
She's talking
everybody.
about it,
Yeah.
and, you know, I don't want to rain on the parade. I don't know if, based on the entire state budget, if that will be successful, but it is a possibility, because she did include that in her executive, not her executive, her State of the State address in her executive budget, yes. So this policy would outline what we would default to in the case that we no longer qualified for CEP. Any questions here? And I should include, it doesn't change our practice from what we were doing prior to CEP. It's actually the same. Okay, thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the policy readings and modifications as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of new business item A, policy manual modifications as presented, say aye. Aye. As opposed, all those opposed? Motion carried. All right, on to contract and agreements. So this is the 3+1 contract and agreement with the Canandaigua City School District. So what Carl mentioned earlier, and then Canandaigua City School District for student health and
Yeah.
services. Is there a motion to approve the contracts and agreements as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of the contracts and agreements as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, on to C, establishment of a scholarship. Is there a motion to approve the establishment of the First Baptist Church Scholarship as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of the establishment of the First Baptist Church Scholarship, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. And on to Mid-Lakes fundraisers. So there are 3 Mid-Lakes fundraisers. Is there a motion to approve the fundraisers as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of the fundraisers as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, on to personnel. If there are no objections, I'd like to block items A through C. So these are appointments, substitute appointments, and coaching appointments. There's a lot of things there to review, but hopefully you've all reviewed them. Is there a motion to approve items A through C as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of items A through C as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Item D, to approve unpaid leave requests as presented. Is there a motion to approve item D?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of item D as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. And the 3 intent to retires that Nick mentioned earlier, is there a motion to approve the intent to retire for the 3 teachers as
So moved.
presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. And resignation. Is there a motion to approve the resignation as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of the resignation as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. And on to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting to enter into executive session to discuss the medical history of a particular person, matters relating to the employment of a particular person, details of pending litigation, and collective negotiations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion